morning. During football season, I mean the round ball coach, soccer, there's a small group of us that go down to Parramatta Stadium for the home games of Western Sydney Wanderers. We sit in the stands, and from our vantage point, we watch the game and we make comments through the game and analyse at half time and then afterwards on the way home. Why did that player do that? Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he shoot then? What's the coach doing? What sort of tactics is he employing? Why didn't he bring that player on? Why? And what did the referee see in that decision? How could he, analysing the game. We on the sideline, kind of the armchair critics. And then on a fan forum, there's even more so. More analysis and critique. And there's a range of people who are still playing, many of them over 35s, or have played at higher levels, lower levels. Some are coaching, young players, medium players, some are refereeing. Some have been following football for years and read all the books. In some ways we all know what should happen on that field down there. What should have happened, instead of passing here, he should have passed over there, or shot now instead of waiting, or... We all know. We all know what should have happened and didn't. And yet, none of us are on the field. None of us are making those split-second decisions. The ball comes in and it's spinning the wrong way, or we're slightly off balance, or the other player hits our foot that the fans don't see, or the umpire, the referee, split-second decision, misses some action because players are in the way, or the coach who's walked with the players through the week, who's trained and seen them, who knows the niggles and the injuries and the fitness and the state of mind, and knows the tactics he wants to employ. We don't know any of that. And yet, we are the experts. It's easy to sit in the stands and make all the comments, to eulogise the players and the teams when they do well, and to put them down when they don't. And I guess that's what life's a bit like. It's easy sometimes to sit on the sidelines of life and watch the game play down there, have all the right theories and ideas and so forth, to eulogise the saints and the heroes and to cheer them on, to do our bidding, to say what we would like to say, to hear the things that we would like to hear, and yet not engage in life as it's lived. There are a couple of stories this week that caught my attention along these themes. The first is an ancient story out of the Jewish tradition. It's a story of one of their great prophetic leaders, Elijah. And Elijah's life is coming to an end, and as this story speaks, he's taken up into the heavens. It's this mystical kind of story. And it's easy to get swept up into the what's it all mean, the who's and the what's and the where's and the why's. And yet, within that story, there's a deeper thing. He has a disciple, an apprentice, a mentoree, if you like. Someone who's following in his way, who's learning from his life, who has been watching and participating with him. That one is Elisha. Elisha is a younger disciple of Elijah. And Elijah says to him, you know what's going to happen today? I'm leaving. I'm going. What can I do for you? What do you want from me? And Elisha thinks about it and he says, I want a double measure, a double share, a double portion of your wisdom. I want your wisdom only more so that I can continue on your work, to do what you've been doing, what you've taught me. But I need more wisdom than I've got. Elisha has made the decision not to eulogise his hero, and not to sit back and stop and think, wow, Elijah, wow, and to talk the talk. He wants to walk the walk. He wants to live the life. He wants to be the one who follows in his mentor's footsteps. To be this voice within the nation that speaks of love and justice and of peace and of the way of God, this reign of God that Jesus will speak about more deeply, who wants to call the nation back into the true path of what right living and just living and generous sharing and inclusive life is about. He wants to live the life. And I think Elisha challenges me, because it's easy to look at the heroes. Now I've got a number of books, I've read a lot of this, A Testament of Hope by Martin Luther King Jr. Well, it's his writings and his speeches and the stories of the civil rights movement and what he's done, the theory, not just the theory but the practice, what they've done, or Long Walk to Freedom by Nelson Mandela. A story of a courageous, humble, bold life. A life that spent 27 years in prison but came through it with humility and wisdom and led the way of reconciliation and forgiveness. Or of Desmond Tutu. I've got stories of James Morrison, jazz, and books on jazz. Stories of Einstein and science and religion, and what his learnings of the universe say about life and his Jewish faith. And I've got other writings and books. And it's easy to listen to these people, Julian Norwich, Teresa Avila, Meister Eckhart, some of the great mystics, Mother Teresa, Dorothy Day, Simone Weil, men and women who have lived the life and who are inspiring. And it's easy to read their words and to quote their words and to pass their words on and to say how wonderful they are and isn't that great and we should do this and we should do that, we should do something else. It's easier to do that than to live the life, to follow in the way, to get down on the field of life where the action is, to roll your sleeves up and get down and dirty. In the other story, Jesus is in the northern parts of his Jewish homelands, up in Galilee. And he sets his face towards Jerusalem in the south. And he and the disciples are walking south. He's going to Jerusalem, and that's where the powers and the principalities of the world will confront him. Where this reign of God that he's spoken about and the powers and principalities of his nation and of the Roman Empire will clash and collide. And he will be nailed to a crucifix, a cross, and killed. But the disciples and many of the followers don't have that in mind. What they have in mind is he's going there to claim the kingship of Israel, and he's going to rise up as this new military leader, this ruling king, in the way of King David, and restore the glory and the power and the honour to Israel, and vanquish the foes. And they're going to be there to share in the glory and the power and the wealth and the prosperity and everything else. It's as far away from Jesus as you can get, but that's what their mind is. Anyway, as they go, they've got to pass through various villages, some friendly and some not. And one of the villages belonging to Samaritans, who are the natural enemies of the Jews, reject them. They won't have anything to do with them. And the disciples come back and report it to Jesus. And they say, "Do you want us to call down fire from heaven and smite that village?" Jesus says, "What are you guys on about? Haven't you listened to anything I've said? Haven't you understood anything I've done? Haven't you watched me and seen me? When do I use violence? Where in my message is a message of vengeance and violence and revenge and smiting people and killing? I'm on about love, justice, inclusion and generosity and sharing and peace. A world where everyone can contribute and belong and be the best they can be. A generous sharing. But be warned, this way of life, which is different from what you expect, is not easy. And the powers that be, who are mighty and got power and might and strength and wealth, will fight back if they feel threatened. because they've got to give up and share some of that power and that wealth and that well-being for the sake of all people. It's not going to be easy to follow me, but it's where life is lived. Do you want to follow or not? There's a story of a man who discovered the art of making fire. He discovered it, how to make it, how to use it, and some implements to use with fire. And he was so excited and he was so generous of heart. He went around the villages and towns to show people how to make fire and how to use these new implements he's designed, how to use it for warmth and cooking and light. He would just teach them and show them and move on to the next place. He came to one village and he was talking about making fire, and he showed them fire and cooked and light and heat, and they were amazed. And as he stayed there, they just hung off every word, listening to him and getting excited about fire. And the more he taught and showed, the more they just hung off his words and were embraced by this man. So much so that the elders of this town grew wary and then scared and jealous. They were afraid that the people were listening more to this man and not to them and their traditions, that they were ignoring them. And this couldn't be. And so they planned and organised to have him killed, and it covered up as an accident. And when the villagers and townspeople discovered the body, they were heartbroken, grieving. And the elders came in and they said, "Oh, this is terrible. Oh, what a tragedy." And they helped the people grieve, and they took pictures and they put pictures of the man up on the wall, and they took the implements of making fire and the stories and they put them out on a special altar in their special places. And people could come and venerate these articles and the memory of this man. They could talk about this man. And they did. But they never made any fire. Jesus invites us to live the life, to get down on the field of life and participate in the game, to make the mistakes, to cop the bruises, but to live the life. What will you do? Amen.